This guy's not looking. Come on, man. Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm headed over to a little village called Sanquhar. I'm going to be heading through what I think is really quite nice scenery, and I've got some sunlight here for the next couple of hours at least, so it should be quite a nice ride. And when I get over to Sanquhar, I'm going to visit Sanquhar Castle, just sort of briefly, just quickly to have a look at it, and then I'm going to go to a place called Crawick Multiverse. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this little lock here, it's all frozen over. Oh dear, winter has arrived in Scotland right enough. This is a little bit more of a roundabout route that I'm taking, folks. I could go a faster way, but this is going to be nicer, hopefully. See this old ruined house here? I think it is just a house. Amazon? No, it's council. When I was stopped back there, folks, I just adjusted the clutch quickly. I didn't film it. Starting to get a little bit of throttle lag there. And I should notice it before I feel it, to be honest, but you just need to make sure that you've got enough free play in your clutch. Otherwise, if it's too tight in the housing, that clutch is slightly engaging, it will very quickly start to overheat. And it doesn't just overheat a little, it'll overheat a lot. But anyway, it takes about 20 seconds just to adjust the clutch lever. This guy's not looking. Come on, man. The ice. Right, okay, so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so we're going to go to Sanquhar. I'm going to quickly visit Sanquhar Castle, just for a quick look at it. But then I want to go to a place called Crawick Multiverse. Now, I don't really know how to describe the place actually, but we'll see once we get there. I guess you would call it like a sort of modern take on an old idea. It's got some standing stones and that type of thing. Chilly. Look at that, wow. Now we're not in the Scottish Highlands here, folks. We're in the lowlands. A particularly nice part of the lowlands. Right, let's slow down because there's ice everywhere. Wow, look at this. Now you don't want to be riding brakes on this. I might do a little video on that actually, how to ride in snow and ice. It's time to start sticking to the main roads though, because these little back roads here, they don't get any grit. You know, they don't get any salt on them like you do in the main roads. So it's getting increasingly more likely that I'm going to take a tumble one of these days, skipping across some ice. Wouldn't be the first time, and I'm quite sure it wouldn't be the last. Fantastic. There's actually salt on this road, you can see it, because it's more of a main road. The eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that I've got a GoPro strapped to my face. Now, if you followed my channel, then you'll know that I've had a lot of problems with the GoPro. GoPro customer services back and forth, not getting very far. But they finally agreed to send me a new GoPro, a more modern one. What this media mod thing. Fantastic as the Insta360 is, there's no doubt that the GoPro sound quality at least is better. So I want to keep the 360 camera for 360 footage, you know, having a look around, and use the GoPros as long as they work for vlogging, you know, because I now don't just have one GoPro, I've got two GoPros. Again, thanks to GoPro, but that is a little bit of a story with regards to me writing complaints and whatnot. Hello sheep! Run, Forest! I probably shouldn't stop on these little bends like this, but worth a look. Wow. Amazing, huh? Beautiful. Cottage here. Spoth. There's a name for a building, Spoth. Look at this. Watch the ice. I need to be careful of that. I'm on the wrong side of the road and everything. Necking around and there's snow everywhere. This says road closed. I guess it's something to do with this storm the other day. Let's go through anyway. Wow, look at this. Trees come down. Oh man. Yeah. That must be, oh no, look at all this. All this has come down as well. And this. Storm Arwen. It's pretty brutal apparently. Well, not apparently, it was. Killed 3 people. So I've come here to Sanquhar and I've turned up at this Crawick Multiverse. Now, the website says that it's open, but it's closed, and I guess that's probably because of current restriction. Now, I'm still going to go to Sanquhar Castle here, but before I do that, guys, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to explore this little village here with you, this little town. This little area here is called Crawick, and it's named after the little river that we come travelling up here. And that's where this place that I was going to go to takes its name from, the Crawick Multiverse. If we look across the viaduct here, this used to be an open cast mine, but in 2015 they started to convert it into a park, and that's what the Crawick Multiverse is. We'll start the little tour, I guess we would call it here. This is the old train station, the station master's house. You see the date on here, 1850. But that's not really the reason I come up here. I come up here because there's a little map. Now, these things are always handy to find. Now, the population of Sanquhar is only about 2,000 people. But look here, places of interest. Now, this tiny little place. There's quite a lot of things going on. Now some of these are sort of museums and stuff like that. And that's because a lot of interesting things happened here over the years. This is ultimately where I'm headed. It's the castle. We're off the bike at last. This is Sanquhar Castle. Some of it's really quite fascinating. So let's get a little bit closer. You see how deep the ditch is. There's still, this would have been the wall running up towards the gateway or the entrance, I guess. Holy moly. As you can see, the castle is right on the edge of a modern housing estate here at Sanquhar. Well, this has been fenced off. Probably, folks, for 2 reasons. It may well be considered unsafe, but also I suppose for sort of preservation purposes. Imagine the kids clambering in here, eh? Like most of these places, the most interesting part, apart from the buildings, is the stories that come along with it. And Sanquhar in general here. So as you can see, there's a lot of old buildings here. It was a royal borough since the 1590s. So that means that it was quite an important place for quite a significant period of time. In the village itself there we see the old toll booth. It was built around 1735. Now there's a much older toll booth there before that, But they actually took some stone from the castle here to rebuild the toll. It was a government building for collecting tolls and for collecting taxes as people were moving up this main artery in southwest Scotland here. But that toll booth was actually, like most of them, a jail and a courthouse as well. And you see the monument on the high street there. That's the site of the Sanquhar Declaration. That was the 22nd of June 1680. It was said that the townsfolk here were shocked that a small group of armed Covenanters came riding up the main street, and they nailed that declaration to what was the old cross. It's no longer there. It's been replaced with this stone plinth to commemorate the event. Now, that was to lead a month later to the Battle of Aird's Moss, which was somewhere between Cumnock and Muirkirk, just a few miles up the road here. But ultimately, that was the start of a series of events that was to lead to the downfall of the Stuart dynasty. It's a motte and bailey type structure. You can see the outer defensive ramparts and the ditches. The name Sanquhar actually translates as Old Fort, and it was a Celtic word rather than a Gaelic word, Sanquhar. There would have been a fort here dating back well over 1,000 years, initially owned by the Edgars and then the Ross family. But when we start to see this stone building here, that was built by the Crichtons in the 13th century, much bigger than what you see now. And it was very important during the Scottish Wars of Independence. Both English kings came here, Edward I and Edward II. Early in the Scottish Wars of Independence there was an English garrison here. Now at that time the castle belonged to the Douglases. In 1295 we've got full-blown war in Scotland. Yeah, we're at the beginning of the Scottish Wars of Independence. William Wallace is actually in this area, not too far from here. But the castle wasn't actually taken back by him. Believe it or not, a small Scottish force actually took this castle back by deception. They came here early in the morning and were hiding out. There were trees and stuff here back at that time. And an unassuming young man called Thomas Dixon rode a wooden cart up to the gate. And when the gate opened, he blocked the gate with his wooden cart, and him and some of the other Scots rushed in, whilst the English were still in their beds. So we're still in 1295 and a handful of Scots are holding this building here, when 3,000 English soldiers turn up to lay siege to the castle. Now the young man, Thomas Dixon, who had snuck into this building, sneaked out again to warn William Wallace. So Wallace and the Scots troops came to Sanquhar. The English decided to flee down the Nith Valley here, and the Scots pursued them. The English lost about 500 men. Of course the Bruce came here, and William Wallace as well. But Mary Queen of Scots actually stayed here on her second last night in Scotland, just after the Battle of Langside, where she was defeated. Of course, she was hoping for support from her blood relative, Elizabeth. Unfortunately, she got the opposite. She was locked up for the rest of her life and was eventually executed by Elizabeth as well. So, as she fled through here over the English border, most historians consider it the worst decision she ever made. So the Crichtons held the castle here up until 1639, and at that point they sold it over to Sir William Douglas of Drumlanrig. Now, Drumlanrig is a very famous castle in Scotland. It's 10 miles south of here. In 1679, the Douglas here decided he was going to build a new castle on top of the ancient Douglas fortifications that are already there at Drumlanrig. So they pulled the old castle down and built this truly imposing new building. Now compared to this, Drumlanrig is spectacular. It's got over 120 rooms and 17 turrets. But the interesting thing is, old Douglas here spent one night at Drumlanrig, decided he didn't like his new manor house, and came back here to this old fortress at Sanquhar. Remember, these are old style medieval lords. Maybe he wasn't quite ready to live in a mansion rather than what was potentially a more secure fortress here. Needless to say though, the day he died, his entire family packed their bags and moved 10 miles south here to Drumlanrig. Now when we go there you'll understand exactly why. Now it's also said that the castle here is haunted by a white lady Marian of Dalpida. Legend has it that this young lady went missing in 1590. Now just south of here, 2 miles south of here, is the village of Mennock, and next to that is a farm, Dalpida, and the hill, Dalpida Hill. So that's where she would have come from. So it was said that she was particularly beautiful, but she resisted the advances of Lord Crichton here in the castle, and then she went missing. Now of course they staunchly denied it, that they had anything to do with this. Of course the locals here knew exactly what had happened. Now in 1895 the castle was actually bought, and they then started to do some renovation on this. So this was the Crichtons then buying this old castle back, their ancestral home. But when they started the renovation works here in 1895, they uncovered the skeleton of a young female, young Marian.